Section 5. Classification of offense. It was a Monday morning. My departmental head, Superintendent Mohammed Ibim, PA to the AIG, Force Criminal Investigation Department, Alagbon, requested that I meet him in his office. He was actually the officer that convinced the AIG to redeploy from State CID to FCID. We actually go back a long way. As a matter of fact, we were both squad mates at the police academy, where we trained together as cadet inspectors. This was the first time I would be working with my course-mates in the same section. Yes, Superintendent Mohammed was not the only course-mate in the section. DSP Bologi Abdul was also there. He was actually the reason Mohammed had requested for me. He pleaded with me to fill in for Bologi, who had traveled to Abuja for a case, which would take him some days to perfect. And incidentally, he was posted for incident duty, which is a duty most senior officers perform once a month. Basically, you don't do much. It's just a 24-hour duty where you are expected to attend to any incident that comes up within the hours of the duty. The hard part of the duty starts when the AIG goes home and the incident duty officer assumes temporary duty of the AIG, because all complaints will be channeled to the incident duty officer, and this includes the welfare of inmates in the cell. Having agreed to fill in for Bologi, I called my wife, sent over my uniform through dispatch. At 6 p.m., I wore my uniform and visited beat point in the command, making sure they were at alert. The cell was the last place I visited. For the first time I visited the place, the cell guard opened the gates and I entered. We had only one male cell, so I focused my attention on the male cell, which was divided into 3 sections. The most secured section was called felony section. This cell facility housed criminals that were being investigated for felonious offenses, that is, offenses punishable by death and imprisonment not less than 3 years. The inmates in this facility were properly secured. The offenses inmates in the facility were detained for various crimes, including kidnapping, rape, armed robbery, murder, and other capital offenses. It was night, and the cell guard suggested I count the inmates without going into the cell, which we did. They were 15 in number. The president in the cell smiled at the fact that I complied with the cell guard's suggestion not to enter the cell. "Oga Olokpa, are you afraid of us?" he asked, holding the bars of the cell gate. The cell guard gave him a mischievous smile before threatening to electrocute him with a shock baton, which he brought near the iron bar. The criminal backed off instantly. We stepped out of that section of the cell and moved to the next section, which was labeled misdemeanor section. This section housed inmates suspected to have committed an offense punishable with not less than 6 months in prison, but less than 3 years. From their conduct, compared to that of the inmates in the previous cell, you could tell that they were not hardened criminals, as their offenses ranged from stealing, cheating, and other white-collar offenses. I entered their cell and conducted a head count. They were 19 in number. I was about stepping out of the cell when one of them approached me and complained that he was detained because he took a suspect on bail. And when the IPO requested he bring the suspect, he learned that the suspect had traveled out of the country. His lawyer argued with the IPO that surety to show cause is not an offense at the police hierarchy, rather in court. I did not drag the matter with him. I simply requested they get me the criminal code. And I showed him a section talking about helping a suspect escape police processing. While we were at it, I looked towards the last section of the cell, called simple offense. It was empty. This cell was meant to house inmates with offenses less than 6 months. I opened the incident diary and recorded my observations. I repeated the process 3 times, after which I reported off duty. I went home, marveled that the cell section was based on Section 5 of the Criminal Laws of Lagos State.